Hi. Oh, hi. Just checking out the fade I've got going on back here. The kids are dying for the fade these days. Hi. Good evening. How's it going, eh? It's me. Felt like chatting. It's been a little while. It's not going to be a long chat. Kind of just talk about some things that are coming up, and have a look at a couple comics that came in the mail. We just got back today. We were away for a week camping. We recently bought a Jayco pop-up trailer, tent trailer, um, and went out east to this place, Caliper Lake, just outside of Nestor Falls. It's approximately 120 kilometers east of Kenora, in Ontario. And I've been going for, I don't know, probably, I think the first time that I was there was probably 1999, 1998, something like that. And it just, and then I'd kind of, there was a number of years where I didn't go, and probably for about the past 13, 14, 15 years or so, I've been trying to go every year. I think we've missed a couple of years due to the place being closed. My son was there when he was a baby. That was his first camping trip. He was born in December. That next summer, he was camping. Um, Lillian, she went when she was a baby for her first time. So she was born in November. That next summer, we took her camping there. She's missed only 1 year in her life. Hello, Mr. Mind the Comics. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Um, so it was nice to get away. It was nice to just kind of relax. We love the campsite. We've never actually been able to go this early in the season before. Usually our ridiculous jobs hold us back to having to go kind of when we have some time off, which is usually kind of August, around then, kind of at the end of the season. Um, so that was good, but now we're back and I'm in house mode, and I'm looking around my room here, and it's crazy. It's just crazy time. I've got a couple of new baskets of these to put some stuff up on the wall, but I don't quite have room there, so I don't quite know what I'm going to do with it unless I start another row underneath. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to kind of talk about some things that I'm going to be talking about coming up. Um, let's start with these. So I did take a couple of books with me. I did finish V for Vendetta G while you're here. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Uh, Out of the Alan Moore stuff that I've read, I have to say it's not, it doesn't quite resonate as strongly with me as other stuff. Not to say that it's not good, because I did really enjoy it. It didn't resonate. Yes, they totally will remember the summer holidays, for sure they will. And they had a great time. They had a fantastic time. Spent a lot of time in the lake. My daughter ended up kind of swimming on her own a little bit too, which she was super excited about with water wings. She's got water wings and stuff. So, but I did have a chance to finish this. And the one good thing about bringing this and Swamp Thing with me was that then I passed them on to my son, so he read both of these as well over the course of a couple of days. And then just tonight, we just watched the Alan Moore documentary. What the hell is it called? Mysterious Mind of Alan Moore, something like that. Anyway, it's on YouTube. So I'm immersing him in kind of Alan Moore. He's has a real interest in some of this kind of stuff lately. So it's been good. He's shown kind of interest in this, and I've talked about Swamp Thing before. He really liked that first book. I think he's a little like me, where I think Swamp Thing resonated with him a little more than V. Um, he he fired through Swamp Thing in no time whatsoever. So that'll be good. So we'll end up reading those together as well, because I do have one, two, three, four, five. I do have the other 5 volumes. Um, so that'll be fun. And that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. We will be doing a hangout. If any of you caught the V for Vendetta hangout, we're going to be doing one on Swamp Thing on the 22nd. Isn't that correct? That's Sunday. We're going to talk about the first volume, and then I guess we'll see where we go from there. If we read a couple of volumes and then do another hangout, I'm thinking that maybe the rough plan that we had talked about briefly was reading a volume, doing a hangout, and kind of using that formula and kind of taking the book in chunks. I'm incredibly excited to be reading this again. I don't want to talk about it too much right now because there's things that I do want to talk about when we all are together. But the one thing I did want to say is this is the second time I've read this series, and my memory of reading it the first time, the first volume didn't do anything for me at the time. I found it a little too, I don't know, it was just a little dull when I first read it. It took me a little bit to get into it. Reading this the second time, this first volume is unbelievable. It's killer. There is so much in here that I really, really enjoyed. There's still a couple of things I didn't enjoy as much, but there's a lot in here that I really, I really dug it. So I'm incredibly excited about reading this series again. And if any of you, even if you have read it or if you haven't read it, I would suggest kind of, if you're into it, read it along with us, you know, like show up in the chat, talk with us in the chat, comment as we're commenting. I know last time we didn't do the best job of, I don't think it was on any of our minds, we didn't do the best job of checking in on the chat to see who was around. But I'm sure this time there'll be a little more focus on that. I'll kind of set myself up as well with the chat window open as I usually do when I'm doing the hangouts on my channel, just so I can also help kind of keep in touch with the people watching. So I'm really excited to be reading that again. I can't believe how excited I am about it, actually. And even just reading this first volume again, it really just reminds me how impactful this series was for me personally. I think it's an amazing book. It's just an incredible book. Let's just leave it at that. So that's a video coming on the 22nd, or a live hangout coming on the 22nd. I'm sure there'll be reminders. Mind the Comics, Paulo Costa, Howler Mouse, and myself. And I believe we're doing it on Mind the Comics channel. So if you don't know Mind the Comics, definitely search them out. Subscribe and kind of click the little belly thing and it'll tell you. And I'm sure if you follow any of us on Twitter, we're talking about it already, and I'm sure there'll be notice of it. The other thing that I'm getting ready to do, I'm not quite ready to do it yet. I've read most of this. I'm not completely done this. This is the creators' rights issue of the Comics Journal. And right away when I was reading it, there was reference to an earlier interview with Dave Sim where they were talking about some of these creators' rights as well, and he was being asked a barrage of questions that were also mirrored in here, and I believe I have that issue as well. So I want to go back and read that. I want to try to read as much of the journal's coverage of creators' rights as I can, and I'd like to do a oh yeah, Gidon, very nice. Yes, that's the backside of a Ghoulies t-shirt from a gentleman who goes by the name of Bald Eagles. So I want to put together a whole kind of video about creators' rights and the journal's coverage of it, and kind of just talk about that. But I'm not done reading everything yet, so that may come in a couple of weeks, I'm hoping. I'm still kind of working my way through the stack of the journal that I got recently, but this being a focus for sure. Really looking forward to talking about that. So that's coming. A couple of other things that I started reading on the trip. The Number of the Beast by Robert Heinlein. I made it about, oh, I took the bookmark out. I made it about, I don't know, 110, 120 pages through it, and I can't even believe that I made it through that much. It's boring as fuck. It is really just a tedious read. And then once I'd kind of read that much. I did a little bit of research, the limited reception that we had on our cell phones. I did a little bit of research online just to see what people had said about this, and even hardcore Heinlein fans said it's kind of a bunch of self-indulgent bullshit. The conversations are just, they're enough to drive you to drink. The characters are supposedly deep, but have these shallow conversations, and there's a lot of like kind of hints of incestuous relationship and nudity and how free they are with their sexuality. But there's a lot of still kind of women fulfilling this stereotypical role, even though in some segments they're really intelligent, and it's just tedious. And it's like, it's a 500-page book. So like I said, I made it 100 pages through. I seriously gave it a shot. I wanted to put it down a few times, and I did put it down a few times and walk away from it and then come back to it. There would be a couple of moments where things looked like they were going to pick up. It's like, okay, so maybe now there's going to be a bit of a story. Now we're going to get to kind of the meat of it. And then you get that meat of it for a few pages, and then it goes back into their bullshit dialogue. So the cover is incredible. There's illustrations throughout. The illustrations are incredible. But it's a load of horse shit. So I put that one down, and I started in on Sterling Hayden's Wanderer that I've had for a long time. Sterling Hayden was an actor who kind of walked away from Hollywood. He was in the first one that kind of gave him a name was, I think it was called Concrete Jungle, film noir from the 50s. And in 1959 or 1960, is that when this was? I want to say 59, but now all of a sudden I'm wondering if it was 69 instead. Anyway, I can't remember. I believe it was 59, so let's go with that for now. He decided that he was going to take his children and go on a trip around the world on a sailboat. He served in the war. He became an actor, was in a whole bunch of stuff, including the incredible Robert Altman movie, The Long Goodbye. He was in Doctor Strangelove as well. And then he walked away from Hollywood because he just didn't have the stomach for it. He thought it was a load of horse shit. He only did it to make some money. He spent all the money. So then he's kind of tapping out at this point. He's in the middle of like custody battles and all this kind of thing. And he takes his kids and gets a crew together of people that have never really sailed before and skips town, gets this money out of some film producers, I think $50,000, to under the pretense of filming a documentary as he's going to do this trip around the world. And instead he writes this kick-ass book, and I'm about 100 pages into this or whatever. Oh, maybe not, 60 pages into this, and it's incredible. Really, really enjoyable read so far. He's a hell of an actor. If you ever do see The Long Goodbye, it's one of the few roles and one of the few movies that he had good things to say about. In this one, he even trashes all those film noir stuff he was in. He rambles off a few names and then says the other ones I can't remember the names of. They're not worth a damn. I love it. He's a character, and if you see him in Long Goodbye, like he was an alcoholic. In Long Goodbye, he is a dangerous, dangerous character in that movie, and it's because the danger from the actor himself is palpable in the role that he plays in that movie. It's apparent that he could just go off the rails at any moment, and it really comes through in the performance. It's a hell of a movie anyway, but his role in it is incredible. So I'd highly recommend this. I'm going to keep going on this one, but that's a damn good read, especially coming out of that other bullshit. So I came home to find a package. I haven't really, honestly, I haven't been picking up too much. I haven't really had the urge to, excuse me, I'm sorry. I haven't really had the urge to go hunting for books. I'm really at a point now where I'm purging a lot of stuff. I'm selling a whole bunch of stuff on Discogs, which is going surprisingly well. And then there's comics and comics and comics. There's a couple of boxes over here, actually 2 full short boxes that I pulled off the shelf. I think I talked about it before. I still have comics out there. I'm still going through some of this stuff, and more of it is going to be going out the door. I'm really just in I need my kind of collecting world to be really specific. I mean, I'm feeling that urge really strongly. There's some graphic novels that are leaving as well too. Focusing. So in that focusing, I haven't really been picking anything up. There's a guy that I've bought some underground comics from before. Fallsticks, how the heck are you? Nice to see you. There's a guy that I bought some underground comics from before. He emailed me recently saying, hey, I'm going to be getting rid of a bunch more. I'll send you a list. He sent me a list. Most of them I didn't need. There was only 4 that I quote unquote needed. So I just bought a few from him. The first 2, I already have them, but these are different printings than what I already have. And since I'm kind of at that stage of my underground comic collecting where there's some titles where I'm kind of collecting the other printings that came out when they come up cheap enough. You know, I'm not going for kind of Zap #1, a first printing yet, that sort of thing. You selling some stuff? I'm good, thanks, mate. Been on a big breakdown press and Ron Reggie Jr. kick at the moment. Nice. Yes, selling a lot of stuff. Glad to hear you're good. Breakdown Press and Ron Reggie Jr. Did I see some stuff that you posted recently on Twitter? Possibly, right? So the first 2 are, this is Young Lust #5. The $2.50 printing. I'm not sure which printing this is. I have my book here, but I'm not looking through it right at the moment. It's a printing that I needed, basically. And like I said, when they come up cheap enough, I'm not going to buy the other printings of a bunch of these just because I need to have them and paying ridiculous money for them. They have to be cheap. And he had some really great prices. I've dealt with them before, so I know that it's going to be good stuff. A couple of these were in some incredible smelling bags, and they're incredible smelling books. Everything smells of dope, as it should. Which is fantastic. And then it's Freak Brothers. What is this? 11? Yeah, number 11. And this is the $2.50 edition printing as well. And again, it's another one that I already have. So it's nice to get another printing of it. And then there was 2 here. Well, this first one I'd never heard of before, and it's from 1986, 1985, a ripoff press anthology from 1985, and it's called Viper. So an international anthology, and this one, it smells great. Oh, actually, this one smells a little bit like cigars, but that's okay. That's okay too. So who's in this one? Palma Vadres is in this. Sorry for butchering. Mavrides. I'm sorry. I'm a horrible word pronouncer. No other names that I'm recognizing. Dory Seda, Christine Cretier, David Cherry, Eric Gilbert. And here they all are under the benevolent guidance of editor Eric Gilbert, co-creator of the French Viper, who brought his trade to San Francisco to put together this international Viper. So there you go. Justin Green and Bill Griffith and that Young Lust, yes. I'm assuming you guys are laughing at the smell of stuff. I can give or take Freak Brothers. I prefer that comic he did about the band. Not Quite Dead. Yeah, that's the one, Not Quite Dead. Freak Brothers holds a special place for me. That was kind of the first kind of underground that I really got into when we took a trip to England one year to visit relatives. I found some Freak Brothers there, and I bought them and just loved them. Um, so they really hold a special place. I haven't read through them in years, but I still love the characters. I think the characters are great. I think the books, the stories themselves were pretty funny. Um, do I go mad? They're all over the place. Like that's the one thing that I see anytime anybody. Usually, when I ask people about underground comics, hey, do you, especially people that are selling underground comics, I always, do you have, or sorry, selling comics in general, always asking, do you have any underground comics? And sometimes when I get a puzzled look, like, what are you talking about? It's a go-to. Ones like the Freak Brothers and Robert Crumb, and they go, oh yes, that kind of stuff. Yes, I do have a couple of those things, and I love kind of getting that response because I know that whatever underground stuff they have or whatever odd titles they're going to have, they're probably going to be a buck a piece because they don't know what the hell to do with them. So I know that I'm not going to have some collector scum charging $20 for a fucking comic that's worth three, just because it's underground. Um, which happened recently, actually. I got when at one of the last conventions I was at, the guy sitting beside me, I'd talked to him before about Air Pirates Funnies. He had an issue, I believe it was issue number 2. I got a chance to look at it. He didn't have a price on it or anything. He said he'd look into it for me. I gave him my email address, not really thinking anything about it. It took a few months, and he came back at me with like I've been looking around, and I've seen it go for about $750. So what do you say to $500? And in my head, I'm like, I say you're a fucking nut job, because I looked at eBay for about 15 seconds and saw that the most expensive one that had sold, which was in way better condition than his, was around the $70 to $90 mark Canadian. So I know that I can find them for much cheaper. And that's the kind of stuff that just drives me a little nuts with some of and that's just the hobby in general. I don't want to make it about the underground comics, because it's not just about that by no means. It's comics in general, and that kind of stuff just drives me crazy. Like, so at least I saw the comic. I held it in my hands, but I ain't going any farther. You love Christine Critter. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Live with it. You ever read Real Stuff? First con I went to, we're giving away a stack of issue 9, the Michael Dugan Hunter S. Thompson cover. Real Stuff. I have seen some Real Stuff. I don't have any myself. I took a copy and read it and was profoundly shocked reading Batman and Nexus mainly back then. I was like 11 years old or something. That's hilarious. I see your Mark Bell in the background. Love his work. I'm a huge fan of Mark Bell. He's a hell of a Canadian artist. I may have talked about it on this channel before, but there's a Canadian free newspaper called Exclaim, and Mark Bell had a comic strip in that for many years. I've got a box full of Exclaim newspapers, and it had to smell really good for that price. It did. Smelt like heroin. So Mark Bell is an amazing artist. I've got a couple of things by him, and then I love seeing those little strips that he did were really great. A hell of a guy, or seemingly a hell of a guy. His books are really enjoyable. I don't think I have any of his High Water stuff. And they have this board game on Last Gasp website called The Narc Game, similar to Dealer McDope, sealed in plastic. 1995, really, hey? Last Gasp website. Dealer McDope has been high on my list. I almost bought a copy not too long ago. There was a guy selling it, and I was talking to him about it. I just didn't have the money at the time. Now that I've started selling stuff, I may reach out to him again, because it's a game that I'd love to add to the collection of Undergrounds. He wasn't asking an insane amount of money for it either. I'll check that out, G-Don. Thank you very much. And then finally, I heard from our friend, the guy, totally blanking on his name right now, Live. The newspaper comic you mentioned is reprinted in Pure Pajamas. I believe it's printed in this, but I think it was in another book as well too. But yes, some of that is I think it makes an appearance in a few different spots. Johnny Zero, our friend Johnny Zero, emailed me a little while back, actually not too long ago, and mentioned this comic. And then a few days later was when this guy contacted me, and it was one on his list. I had never seen it before. Johnny Zero had read it online and said it was really great, and if I ever come across a copy, to let him know. But of course, I've come across a copy that I want for myself, so I'll be keeping my eyes out for it for you as well, JZ. The Nero Comics Timothy Leary comic, and I think is this Last Gasp as well. A little bit of damage on the back there, but that's neither here nor there. The rest of it is in great, yeah, Last Gasp. Rest of it is in great condition. So kind of look at Hot Potato, that's the one, yeah. So I'm excited about this one, especially if Jay-Z is also giving it a thumbs up. Oh wow, that Leary comic is semi-legendary. Please do tell. I haven't done any research on it. I did look in the price guide, and there's only one printing of it. Let's have a look here. Yeah, 1979, $1.25. Doesn't go for crazy money in the book. It's not even listed at crazy money. So that's cool to have a copy of this. So there's the whole look at the wraparound cover there. Great looking cover. That artist was in Weirdo. First artist you showed, can't remember the name. Oh yes, inside here. Let's have a look together. Leary, Von Schally, and DiCaprio. Yeah, paddleboard and inking. Pete Von Schally and George DiCaprio. A little bit of a Ditko flavor to that first, especially that first page. That's something that happened while I was away, wasn't it? Ditko passed away. I don't know. I mean, it just looks. It looks, yeah, exactly. Leonardo's dad. It looks interesting, especially with pages like this. You can't go wrong. So yeah, that's pretty much it for any sort of new books that have come into this house. Like I said, there's been a lot of different guy you're thinking of. Okay, there's been a lot of stuff going out the door, which is good. I did kind of change some of that Discogs money into records. I bought some records that are still on their way. I've been really big into Kevin Martin lately, who his recent project is The Bug. He just did an album with a woman, Misread. He did all the music for it. I pre-ordered that album. That should be coming soon. It just got released digitally today. Got some of his Bug records as well too. And then he used to be in a band with Justin Broderick, who was Justin Broderick from the band Godflesh. They did some stuff together, some electronic music together under the name of Techno Animal was the main one. And then there's a couple of other kind of acts that they did that were kind of verging on kind of drum and bassy type of things. So there was a few gaps in my Techno Animal collection, and Eraser, I think, was the other band that they did that was more drum and bass. I ordered a bunch of that stuff, found them on Discogs. If you are selling music or if you're looking for music, highly recommend Discogs. The setup they have there is really simple to use. The fees that they take are next to nothing. I don't know how many hundreds of dollars of sales one month, $200 to $300 of sales. I think that their cut was under $5 Canadian is what they invoiced for me for all those sales, which was easy. All the information is listed for the records. All you do is look up your version that you have and then say that you have one for sale. You don't need to type in any big sales pitch. All you've got to think about is shipping costs. And giving accurate shipping quotes. I really like the layout of it, and you can have stuff listed for a price, but you can accept offers. One just went through today. I worked out a deal with a guy. I'm hoping I sent him a counter offer. He countered. I accepted. We'll see if he actually goes through with it. Stuff that even if I traded in locally, I wouldn't get very much money for it. I'm making some pretty decent dollars off of it online, which is kind of nice to feed my other habits. Originally, all that money was going to be saved up for some synthesizer gear. Like I said, I kind of got sidetracked looking at albums and bought some records. I still have a chunk of money sitting in my PayPal account, which I'm hoping will continue to grow as I keep selling on Discogs. So yeah, the word of the day is get shit out the door. I bought a bit of Swedish free jazz off Discogs, but only used the site a couple of times. It's well worth taking a little dive into. I use it a lot when I'm looking up information on records, especially if I find an artist that I'm unfamiliar with, looking through their catalog to see what they were creating around. Like if I hear an album, say in 1987, and I look to see what they were doing around that time to look for those albums, or even just the way it's laid out. There'll also be links to the record label that it was released on, and some of these more kind of experimental and noise act stuff like that. There's some small record labels that are always worth checking out. So clicking on those links to see their whole discography of the kind of stuff they were releasing is always a bit of a fun dig. Anything where I can dig into the obscure side of stuff is always really enjoyable for me. That really just sucks up my time quite a bit. But yeah, I'd recommend checking it out again. And even records, I've been putting up records for sale too. And Mr. Maybe I won't say his name. I don't know if I should say his name or not. On Twitter, somebody who's watched my videos in the past, I just kind of posted it on Twitter that I was selling, and he was kind enough and bought a few records off of me, which he told me that he's really loving, which is great. And that's kind of the biggest thing for me, right? Like if I don't want it, I want to make sure to my best ability that it gets to somebody that's actually going to enjoy it. I do enjoy trading stuff in. That's fine by me. But if I'm going to sell stuff, especially music has played a really important role in my life, and some of these records and CDs that I have up right now have been a little bit difficult to post. Let's just say that. 2 of them I took down today actually because I'd been thinking about it and I actually can't sell those. So they're back in the collection. So the music has really meant a lot to me throughout my life. It's nice to know that I'm selling it to people that are collectors, but also like just fans. As this gentleman was. The band was Jackie O Motherfucker. And he just is really getting a kick out of those records, and I love that. I love that it's gone to somebody who is going to enjoy them as much as I did when I first bought them. Anyway, 22nd, join us for the Swamp Thing to talk about the first volume. Some underground stuff in here too. Comics Journal talk of creators' rights. That's coming soon. Maybe some book stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens when I get more through this book. I don't know if I'm going to get into book reviews or not, but I will definitely be highlighting some books when they cross my path that I'm really getting a kick out of, or ones that just suck balls to make sure that nobody else falls into the same trap. So yeah, thanks very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Volstix, Mind the Comics, G-Don. Was there anybody else that popped in? No, it looks like that's it. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I appreciate it. It's always nice to talk to you guys. And Mind the Comics, I will see you on the 22nd in this format, but you'll actually be here on the screen too, and we'll be interacting. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good night. We'll talk to you.